those that have attended this afternoon. It's lovely to see so many of you again interested in something slightly different this time. So I remember Anna really, really well, and she's got a great story to tell because she was really set on what she wanted to do, and then she had a massive U-turn, and it's worked out really, really well for her. She's doing a very interesting course. Um, it's not one that you hear of that often, but is quite popular at university. So I think for some of you at this stage, it'll be really helpful for you. So I'd like Anna to start by talking about her A levels, what she chose, why she chose them, her experience of applying to university, and then what happened after that. Is that okay, Anna?
Fine.
Perfect.
So thanks everyone for joining. I have written a little blurb, so sorry if it looks like I'm reading off the paper, because I will forget what I'm talking about. So my name's Anna Hopwood, and I left school in 2016 with art, history and English A levels. And my mum is a lawyer, and I always thought like law was something that I really wanted to do. I thought her job seemed really fun, and she got me quite a lot of work experience, which I really enjoyed. So I had like my heart set on doing law at uni. I went to uni really excited, but deep down there was part of me that was thinking, you know, I am quite a creative person. Is this something that I, you know, should be doing? Maybe I should look into doing a creative course at uni. And I did actually go to Leeds, I think it was open day, and I went to the fashion talk, and I went to the law talk, and I was sat in the fashion talk, but I think I'd already sent off my personal statement, and I remember being sat there thinking, oops, maybe I've made a bit of a yeah. But anyway, I went to Sheffield Hallam. I got an unconditional offer to do law. I got it on my 18th birthday, so I thought it was a bit of a sign, bit of a birthday present. So I went off to uni to study law. And I feel like as a young person, it can be quite easy to fall into the trap of conforming to the stereotypical academic subjects that your friends all might be doing. I definitely did that. You know, my friends went to uni to study like law, dentistry, biomedicine, etc. And it's hard when you know that what you want to do is the complete opposite of what everyone else is doing, or what the stereotypical subjects that come from merchants may be. But so like I knew, obviously, as I said, I knew I was a creative person, but I knew I had my heart set on law, but I think I was kidding myself a bit. And I knew deep down that it wasn't something that I really, you know, wanted to do. So changing course was honestly like the best decision that I ever made. I think you don't realize how much it impacts you as a person as well, you know, with your mental health and your mood and everything. It really does have a massive impact. You know, I can't begin to tell you how frustrating it is when you're putting all your time and effort into a degree and you're just not getting anywhere with it. I was doing my law exams and doing my law assignments, and I was staying in the library till like 2 a.m. when all my friends were going out, and I was failing all my assignments and all my exams, and I was getting really bad marks, just scraped, like I think I scraped 3 passes out of 6 modules, and so I think it does have a massive impact on your mental health, and it really does knock your confidence in yourself as well. You know, when you're getting these grades back and you're thinking, you know, I'm putting so much time and effort in and I'm not really seeing any results. So yeah, when I changed course, I remember I got my first module result back, and I remember like refreshing the screen loads because I got 76, which is obviously quite a good first. And I remember thinking like, oh gosh, like that's surely not my grade, but it was. And so it does show, you know, when you're doing something that you do really love and enjoy, it does show in your grades as well, and you'll be a much happier person for just going with what you want to do. You know, don't do anything for anyone else, just do what makes you happy. So yeah, that's just my first piece of advice. Like if you're watching this, or someone you know is going through something similar, I'd say just go for it. You know, do what you want to do. And any parents watching, I know it can be really daunting telling your parents that you want to change course. I remember I was quite scared to tell mine. And my parents were really supportive from the minute I told them that I wanted to change course, they were like, my mum was like, I told you should have done something creative. So just having that support at home is really, really important. I remember she took me to London Fashion Week a few months after I changed course, and it was amazing just to have, you know, that support from your mum and dad. So I think it is really important to any parents watching, you know, just support your child and what makes them happy, because I know that that's what you guys would want as well. So yeah, now I'm in my final year of my degree. I'm doing fashion management and communications. So it's not fashion design, it's basically everything other than designing clothes. And I'm trying to complete my degree in lockdown at home, which has had some, which I've found challenging at times. However, you know, one of the really important things about being a creative is thinking outside the box and kind of adapting and overcoming these hurdles. So that's what I've been trying to do. I've been trying to stay positive. I know for a lot of people, like, this is quite a hard time in terms of, you know, our time at like university or school has been cut short, and it can be quite daunting, you know, almost feeling as if, well, you know, like, now what kind of thing. But for the people like hoping to start university in September, I would emphasise like how important it is to carry on with your studies. I think the jump from school, everyone says the jump from school to university is massive, and I know everyone thinks, oh, it's only first year and stuff, but it is a big jump. And you've got a lot of things to get used to, you know, living on your own, making new friends, like adjusting to the workload and going to the library and things like that outside of university hours. So I feel like it is really important to like keep doing little bits over summer to keep our brains like ticking over. And also one of the things that I think is massive is we won't, obviously because of lockdown, we won't be having as much like social face-to-face interaction. And I feel like even just, you know, having conversations with people outside our household, not having that, I think will have little impacts on us, you know, like our vocabulary and how we socially interact. And obviously then starting or hoping to start university in September, you know, that can be like quite a big jump to go from like lockdown to that. So I think especially if you're starting a creative course, you know, we need to keep doing things to keep our creativity flowing. You know, finishing in like school in March or April and then doing nothing all summer and then trying to pick it up again, I think can be quite hard. I know from doing law for a year, doing absolutely nothing creative at all, to then go into a creative course, I was quite rusty at first in terms of like creative thinking and like thinking out the box and things like that. So I've just been doing a few little things alongside my course to stay creative during lockdown, and all these things you can like do at home either for free or just really cheap little bits you can order on Amazon, but like make sure you're washing your hands and things when you order parcels. So like one of the things that I've been doing is actually part of my university course, but I've actually found it really enjoyable, is embroidery. And I've been embroidering onto tote bags and t-shirts. My final project for my fashion degree, one of the main outcomes of it is all to do with the anatomy. So I've been embroidering like organs onto tote bags and stuff. So I'll just show you like a little example. So this is like some lungs and a heart that I did. This is like my practice one because all my clothes are boxed up. But like at first I had no idea what I was doing, but once you get the hang of it, it is actually really relaxing and therapeutic, and it's actually really nice to be able to like take yourself off to a quiet space in your house, you know, like turn your phone off. And I find it really therapeutic, you know, and it does have good benefits. Doing these creative things, it's really beneficial for your mental health as well, and just keeping your mind occupied during lockdown. I think my set was like £8 from Amazon, and it's amazing. You get loads of different colours with it and stuff like that, and it's just really easy to just sit and do for a few hours. Another thing that I've seen people doing, and I actually did this yesterday with my friend, is you can do like mini photo shoots over FaceTime. You know, and some of the outcomes are amazing. So you can ring your friend, and also it's like the social aspects of having a laugh with your friend and things like that. You know, you can ring your friend and ask you know, asked to pick some clothes out of their wardrobe, and then you can style them and then screenshot the FaceTime, and then you can edit the pictures and stuff, and then you can add it to your graduate portfolio, you know, a mini photo shoot shot and styled by me. So that's something that I found quite fun. And also, like, this sounds very simple, but make a Pinterest board. Pinterest is a free website with, I'm sure loads of you have used it. It's got thousands and thousands of like creative images, creative content that you can save to separate mood boards and name them. And also, like, you can link your Pinterest to your professional website or portfolio. So when you're applying for jobs, employers can look at your Pinterest boards and see kind of your aesthetic and the way you work, and it just gives a bit more insight for an employer into your personality and, you know, the outcomes that you work towards, instead of just having your CV to hand in. So yeah, and also I've been making podcasts again as part of my university course, but, you know, just adding an extra skill to your portfolio, you know, the fact that you've actually made podcasts and, you know, the art of conversation, it kind of shows to employers that, you know, you can have a professional conversation with somebody, and, you know, keep on topic, keep it informative, and keep it really fun and creative as well. And for them to be able to listen to you doing that, I think that just again adds another like factor to your portfolio that will just make you stand out a lot more when applying to the creative industry, because I know that it is a really, really, really competitive industry. I'd say more so than others. So when you are applying, you know, just these little things that you can do with your time during lockdown will really make you stand out. And also, I would definitely recommend having a separate Instagram page for yourself going into the creative industry. And it's really important, I think, to keep on top of it and like post pictures of things that you like. You know, you might be walking around and like something, you know, take a picture of it and post it on your personal Instagram just to kind of get yourself out there, like self-promotion. Any of the creative things you've been doing during lockdown, do post it on your Instagram. And then, you know, again, when you're applying for a job, your employer can go on that Instagram, and it's kind of almost like a quick digital portfolio. They can just have a quick flick through, and maybe they'll do that even before reading your CV. So I feel like it's quite important to, you know, promote yourself, especially because social media is such a massive part of the fashion industry now. It's kind of like unavoidable. It's there, and it, you know, it's one of the tools that fashion brands and employers are using to source photographers, stylists, or things like that. So I definitely recommend having your own Instagram page. And if you haven't got a website, like your own personal website, I would definitely recommend this. You know, put your portfolio on it, put your CV on it, and you know, say like you want to go into like fashion journalism or journalism for a newspaper or magazine, you know, write some blog posts during lockdown and just post them on your website. Again, so employers can see it, can see your writing style, read it and think, oh yeah, that's really good, you know, I want to get her in for an interview. You know, it's just these little things that you're not just handing them your CV and saying, oh, this is my, you know, this is my kind of boring like CV kind of thing. It's kind of just adding that bit of extra insight into your personality and just showing employers that you are dedicated and you do really want this job. And I think, like, as I said, like, it is really important. I think when you're applying for a job, it just so happens that we've obviously fell into lockdown. This has never really happened before. So I feel like when you're applying for a job, employers will be looking at what you've done with your time during lockdown. And I feel like it's really important to use the time wisely to create some creative outcomes that you can put into your portfolio, because I feel like, you know, kind of when you're applying for a job, I feel like in future interviews, one of the questions will be, well, what did you do with your time during lockdown? And, you know, instead of just sitting there like, oh, well, I just kind of like FaceTime my friends or listen to some music, you know, you can say, oh, I did this, I did, you know, like a social distance photo shoot, or I made these embroidered tote bags, or did this FaceTime photo shoot, you know, just to have that. You could even have like a page in your portfolio, like, that this is what I've done. I've done like lockdown series, and I've just done some little bits that I've been doing throughout lockdown. So then my employer will look at that and think, oh, like, you know, she's not just wasted the kind of time, she's actually thought outside the box. And again, it shows that you're dedicated and you actually care about like what you want to do. So in terms of like actually writing your CV, we did get a lot of advice in school about this. However, I don't think it was necessarily for a creative career. I went to university with literally a black and white printed out CV on A4 paper. And this is something that wouldn't even get looked at in the industry. Obviously, when I was going to uni to do law, it was fine. But in the creative industry, they wouldn't even give it a second gaze. It'd just be straight in the bin kind of thing. So I remember going for a day at Misguided just to chat about the industry and, you know, CV help. And one of the girls that I spoke to said, like, people send their CVs in like balloons with like a pin to pop the balloon saying hire me. Someone sent in like a working care package, so it had like a Kit Kat, a branded pen, and their CV was in the box. So just little things like that to kind of think outside the box. Also show your personality. So try and like modify it to what you want to do, if that makes sense. So for me, for one of the ideas that I had, I'm really into music, and I like the idea of like being a stylist for music videos or music covers. So I basically got a vinyl record of one of my favorite songs, and I coloured over the branding in the middle part. I'll show you this. So this is just like a little sketch thing that I did with some my name and personal branding with some little stars, and then I designed a like cover for it, and I put my CV in there with it. So just ideas like that to show your personality and show that you're thinking outside the box will look really good for you to an employer. And also when you write your CV, make sure like the layout is creative. So on mine I have like a small portrait, because I'm really into a small like portrait of myself, and then I have like some little doodles on my CV, so it's not just kind of like plain. So yeah, and I would also recommend definitely designing a business card for yourself. And when you send your CVs off, make sure you have the business card with the CV. And also if you're going to interviews in the future and things like that, take your business card with you and leave it as you're leaving the interview. You know, it gives like a good lasting impression, and it shows like professionalism. And you know how to handle yourself in the workplace and things like that. I think like self-promotion is really, really important, especially going into the industry at a time like this. I have my own stickers that I've designed, so when I go out, I'll stick them on like a lamppost or like on a bank, like where everyone sticks stickers. Like I stick them there, so you know if somebody sees my sticker and think, oh, that's a cool sticker, they might look me up. It's got my Instagram handle. They might look me up, and you know, it's just exposure for your work then. And you know, one look at your Instagram profile, it's one more look at your work kind of thing. So you've got to think of everything in the business kind of like self-promotion kind of way. So there are a few things that I've also been following on Instagram too. There's an Instagram account called at ISO with her, and it is a new platform for women and girls in the industry. So she posts each like day like a feature of a girl or woman in the industry that's been doing something really cool. So if any of you guys have got any work or anything like that you'd want her to post, just to, as again, self-promotion, just to give her a message. And she also does like lives every week with women from high up in the industry, you know, and they talk about their experiences getting into the industry and what they would do with their CV and things like that. So I found that really insightful and really interesting to listen to, because obviously it's coming from people with experience. Graduate Fashion Week are also doing webinars where you can go onto their website and kind of like apply to be in the, like, to watch the webinar kind of like with this. So they're really interesting as well. And also like Business of Fashion are doing lives on their Instagram account that anyone can watch. Also with people from higher up in the industry, giving their kind of insight into, you know, starting out as a young creative and things like that. And I found that really, really interesting. So yeah, that was kind of like all I'd written. Does anyone have any like questions or anything?
I've got a couple that I'd like to ask you, and then if any girls have any questions, can you just put them in the conversation box and I'll ask them to Anna. So Anna, can you give us more detail about your course then? So the course title and the modules that you've completed, because it sounds really interesting and varied.
So the course title is Fashion Management and Communications, and we do everything from photo shoots to writing journal articles to trend books. So in first year we did a zine. We went on a trip to Manchester, which was really cool, and we got given a task. This was in our first week. We got given a task, and it was called 12 Tasks in Manchester. So our first task was to create a separate Instagram account for ourselves as creatives. So, you know, like I said before, if you guys do that, it kind of shows like before you actually start the course that you're already kind of thinking that way. So they set us a task. They gave us like 12 titles, and we have to go around Manchester and take pictures. One of them was to find a zine that we found really cool. So zine's like a mini magazine, basically. It's like a publication. A lot of them are very like visual, and less so written, but you can find written ones, and they're not really editorial. Like they don't have like, you know, when you open a magazine, it's got like a Chanel advert or things like that. They don't really have like advertising in. They're just like pure content, which is they're really nice actually. And there's a really cool shop in Manchester called Magma, and they specialize in creative zines. So if you want to have a look on their website, some of their stuff's amazing. So we had to create our own zine, and I found that really, really fun because in school I really enjoyed art. So I actually got one of the highest marks in the year because I printed my zine off and actually worked into it with like mark making and all the kind of skills that I'd learned through my art A level. I took them into my fashion course as well, which was quite nice. And I feel like that's really, really benefited me because one of the things that I found when I went to university is a lot of the girls on my course had done a fashion A level at college or like a BTEC in fashion. There was like hardly anyone that hadn't really done a fashion or done a foundation course in fashion. I think there was like 2 of us that didn't really do, and then even the other girl, she did like product design, and obviously I had art A level, and I know that's like sixth form doesn't like offer a fashion course, so you guys will all be in the same boat as me. But I think don't be intimidated by the fact that you don't have any fashion knowledge, because just play on your strengths. So my strength, I did English and I really liked writing, and I did art as well, so I took my strengths from both those subjects and used it within my course. I didn't think, oh god, I don't really know anything about fashion kind of thing. I like used them to play my own strengths, if that makes sense. So yeah, that's what we did in first year. We did like a zine, and we did a photography course as well. So we went to London and went to the V&A, and Balenciaga had a exhibition on there, so they took us to see that, which was amazing. And then in second year, so like in law and things like that, you do like six modules, whereas in fashion, so in first year we did 2, in second year we did 2, and in third year it's 1 big module, and it's marked holistically, which is good, because say you're rubbish at writing a dissertation but you're really good at the creative stuff, you're not going to get 0 on your dissertation. You're not going to get a bad mark because it's marked as a whole module, which is, I think, is quite a good, and I think a lot of creative courses are marked like that as well. So yeah, in second year we did a trend book, which was analysing the new trends of the season that were coming in, and uni actually got it's called Unique Style Platform. It's a big trend and analysing company based in London. They actually came in and worked with us individually as well, which was amazing, because I don't feel like you get as good as exposure to the industry. I feel like that's one of the really cool things that I found about Sheffield Hallam, even doing law. They bring in a lot of people from industry, so you actually get to meet professionals, which I feel like is a massive, massive benefit to you going into the industry, because if you haven't done that, going into the industry can be really daunting. You know, you've never had a conversation with a industry professional before, so I feel like that's a really cool thing that the uni did. And then in second year as well, we worked with a brand that we had to find ourselves. So I found this guy on Instagram, and he was a like an outdoors brand, and we had to basically find a brand that we thought we could help in some way. So I saw his graphic designs on his t-shirts, and I thought they are so cool, and they just reminded me of like young lads, young skater lads at uni. Like they would love that kind of thing. But he was kind of like marketing himself as like a outdoors climbing company. So I basically went to him and said, listen, I feel like your company is amazing, however I feel like you could progress by kind of going for the skater kind of market as well. And you know, like young students, Sheffield's a massive student city as well, so that's, I kind of worked with him, did a photo shoot campaign for him, worked on his Instagram content, all things like that. And it was actually really nice to see your work going on his Instagram and his followers going up and up and up. So it's actually really nice to have that constant, you know, visual. You can actually see that what you're doing is actually making a difference, which was really nice. And then in third year, we are doing our final fashion project. So we have a dissertation, which is 6,000 words, and then we have to produce 6 outcomes. So mine is, I've created a fashion brand, I've created a website and Instagram, I'm doing podcasts, I've done a video and a fashion shoot and a zine as well. So they're my outcomes. So it sounds a lot, but when you love doing it, it's not like you know, it's just kind of like a hobby. It's not like, oh, this is my university work and oh, I've got to go and do that now. I feel like that's the good thing with a creative degree as well. You know, if you love being creative, it's not like you're doing your uni work, it's just kind of like you're doing your hobby but at uni, if that makes sense. So I have really enjoyed the modules that we've done, and yeah, they've given us a really good insight into what we're actually going to be doing when we go into the industry, and you know, how to speak to professionals and stuff like that as well. So I think it's definitely a good course to have a look at.
I know there's a girl in this chat, Anna, that actually is really interested in creative courses, but is quite torn actually between doing a creative course or taking a science. And I won't say who it is, but do you have any advice for her? I mean, I know it's slightly different to your experience, but I think she was incredibly stuck before we broke up for lockdown, and I feel like your advice might be really helpful for her actually.
What I'd say to you is,
yeah,
I think it's really, really, really hard to make a decision, especially I think at merchants, a lot of people do science and law and dentistry and medicine, and it's kind of like almost what you're expected to do. But I would just say to you, if you genuinely feel like creativity is something you love, like I knew that I absolutely adored it, and then I kind of like, when I was at uni, this sounds really weird, but I kept having dreams about like doing creative things. And then it was just really strange. And then I just woke up and I was just like, I don't know, I was just driving myself insane. I was like, I don't know why I'm doing this. I don't know why I'm trying to kid myself. So if you genuinely feel that, you know, being creative and it makes you happy and it's something that you do, and you maybe you're feeling like, you know, you have to kind of do a science because maybe it's like what, you know, external factors like your parents or your friends, or you may feel like there's a subconscious kind of push for you to do that subject. If you genuinely love being creative, I would definitely say, you know, I'm not saying do the creative course, you'll really love it, but I think if you know deep down, you know, you've got doubts about doing science, I think if you're like me, you'll know deep down yourself that, you know, what route you want to take. It's just kind of like having the guts to do it. But I would just say, honestly, just do it. It's the best decision that I ever made. And honestly, like, it'll make you such a happier person as well. I felt very like down when I was doing my law degree. I didn't really feel like myself, and I felt like I was compressing all my creative flair You know, I thought about going to do like an art class as like an extra hobby, but there's just so much work and trying to, you know, like
Balance all of that.
yeah, kind of have friends and then doing your law work as well, and like remembering to eat your tea. You know, it's quite a lot of things that you have to take on, especially as a first year. So just don't compress your creativity. Like, don't suppress it. Don't try and hold it in. Just go for it. Is my advice, definitely.
And I think probably, Anna, it hasn't done you any harm giving law a try and then changing your mind, has it?
Definitely, definitely. I think doing law has actually helped me a lot because I don't see it as a wasted year of my life. I see it as, you know, take the positives from it. You know, I learned a lot during that year. I know, like, especially we did like a mooting thing, which was really cool. So like you go into a fake courtroom and you've got a debate with one of your classmates, and so like just little things like that will really benefit me later in life. You know, being able to talk professionally to people within any industry, really. So yeah, I don't think it's done me any harm at all. I think it's actually benefited me massively, and it's also kind of shown me more. It's not something that I want to do, but in a good way, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and you have to try it to know, I guess.
It's pushed me down. You know, if you're feeling like, oh, I'm 50-50, like, don't feel like, you know, if you can't change course, you can change course. You can change course in third year if you like. Do you know what I mean? Don't feel like, you know, because you've chosen that's what you have to do. When I did law, it pushed me even more away from law, and it pushed me towards my creative side. So it has definitely benefited me and given me a definite like strong vision of what I want to do. So I definitely say that it's not harmed me at all, really.
There's a couple of questions coming through. So the first one is, what's your next step after your university course? So I know you were talking about making creative CVs, and I know you said you're interested in sort of designing the music industry. So what's the next step for you, Anna?
To be honest with you, I don't know yet, and I am just gonna be truthful. I don't know what I want. I feel like I'm quite an indecisive person. I don't have my mind set on one thing, but obviously through my university journey, I've found that it's not necessarily a bad thing. You know, a lot of people, when you get to this age, say to you, oh, what are you going to do with your life? And I just say to them, well, I don't know, to be honest. And it's not something that I'm like ashamed of not knowing. I'm just going to kind of like apply for a job if I like the sound of it and kind of like see where I want to go. One of the things that I definitely want to explore is obviously the music industry, because I did music at school. And it is something that I'm definitely interested in looking at. But also the other thing that I want to look at is I want to look at doing a PGCE to do art teaching. I know, like, I don't know if many of you remember Mr. Gill, but I just feel like I just want to like follow in his footsteps, and like that's definitely something that I'm interested in doing. You know, that's a good thing about doing a course like this. It's not like medicine where you have to kind of like be a doctor or something to do with that. You can do anything. I got offered a job actually recently in Manchester to do as a marketing graduate scheme, and I've recently realised that that's not something that I want to do, which is fine. So I politely declined the job. But it's not like it. I don't know. I feel like a lot of older people as well kind of put this pressure on us, because I feel like in the older generations you kind of just get a job and you kind of just stick to that job and that's it forever. Then like you just have that, it's a career, whereas I feel like now the world's changed so much, and I feel like there's not as much pressure to kind of like you have to do this, you have to do it your whole life. You know, you can kind of like just go out there, just like, have experiences in like all different fields, and then you decide what you want to do, and then you can just do whatever you want. Like there's so many different things that you can go down with, especially with a degree like mine. You know, I could go into marketing, I could go into fashion, I could be a teacher. There's just endless like opportunities. So I wouldn't, to you guys as well, I wouldn't worry about like necessarily having like a set career that you want to do. I just kind of like go with the flow kind of thing and see what makes you guys happy.
Somebody else has asked, was it an easy transition for you from law to fashion?
Yeah, it was, honestly, I was actually quite shocked at how easy it was. So basically I emailed somebody I actually changed course really, really late. I think I emailed her mid-August, and I was about to start my second year in September. Um, and I just emailed this lady and I said, hi, I'm just really interested in your course. Is there any chance that I could like pop in and have a chat with you? So I got the train to Sheffield. She emailed me back and she said, yeah, sure, come whenever, like I'm free on this day. So I got the train to Sheffield and literally spent half an hour just chatting with her. And she was like, just from chatting with you, she's like, I know you're in the wrong course. She's like, I know you'd love this. So she offered me a place on the course there and then. And I didn't have any portfolio, obviously, because I'd been doing law. I didn't have a portfolio. She just wondered what A levels I'd done. I said obviously I'd done an art and an English and history, and she was like, yeah, I can tell from chatting to you that you're really passionate about doing a topic like this. So she just offered me a place, and then I started the next month. So yeah, it was really easy. I think as well because I changed course within university. I think it's quite an easy process. But I know a few of my friends from school, they actually changed to a different university, and I don't think they've necessarily had any like big issues surrounding it. So I wouldn't worry about not being able to change course or anything like that. I think it is quite an easy process.
There's a couple of other questions, really good ones actually. So, did you need art A level for this course or similar courses, or is it how you use your A levels to support what you do?
I think you kind of have to have. So, say you haven't done an art A level or an English. Say you've done like biology, chemistry, and physics. I feel like that might be a bit of a I don't know. I feel like they may be a bit. I don't actually know. I don't feel like you have to have. They didn't actually say to me you have to have these A levels. I think if you go to a uni like uni of Liverpool or something like that, I think they're quite different because I think they're quite set in there what subjects they take. But for a lot of creative courses, you'll find the better courses at like Sheffield Hallam or like Leeds Beckett. I think the creative courses are at that type of university, and I don't think they're really strict on your A levels. But what I would say to you is, say you haven't done art, but you are creative, I would maybe make like a little portfolio to kind of show that you are a creative person, and when you go for an interview or whatever, just take that with you and say, I know I might not have the traditional art like A level, or I've not done a fashion foundation course or things like that. I would take the little portfolio and be like, but I am really, really interested. And then say you've got an English A level, say I've written this little piece about London Fashion Week that I'd like you to read. Just little things like that you can do to kind of show how passionate you are about this subject, and I feel like that will really show to the tutors and things that it doesn't really matter that you've not got an art or fashion kind of degree A level, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it was Emily that asked. Emily, and Anna's absolutely right. So some courses will ask for art. I think you'll find most won't, but they will absolutely want to see a portfolio. So even if you're doing A levels that don't perhaps match or look like they match to a particular course, if you are creative, like Anna said, you'll probably be doing those things anyway. So build it up in a professional way. And those hints and tips Anna gave in terms of things that you can be doing now was really helpful, particularly as work experience will be so limited for our current year 12s. Anna, someone else has asked a question. Is it essential to do a foundation course before university?
No, absolutely not. I went straight from, and I know that a lot of my friends on my course went straight from school as well, doing both BTEC, A levels, and none of them did. I know a few people on my course that obviously did a foundation course, but it's not an essential. My good friendship group in my course, my best friend Frankie, she did A levels the same as me. And she went straight into the course. So no, it's not an essential. Well, that's for my course definitely anyway. It's not essential to do a foundation course. I think obviously it would harm you if it's something that you want to do. But I'd definitely say that it's not an essential thing to doing. but I would say just check with the university. But I don't think I've never really come across that a foundation course is a requirement. Definitely when I was applying anyway.
Somebody else has asked, if you wanted to do fashion design, do you recommend doing an EPQ to do with fashion design, or something else in the arts to suggest you have other interests? Or do you recommend not doing an EPQ at all and working on your portfolio?
I didn't do an EPQ at school because I chose subjects that were quite like text. So I did history and English, which are essay-based subjects, and then I did art as well, which is obviously quite a lot of coursework. You guys know in art will know that it is quite time-consuming. So I chose not to do one. I think if it is something that you want to do, I would say do it on something that you're passionate about. I would never give advice to somebody to kind of do something for the sake of trying to fit into it. Unless your course says you have to do it specifically on this, I would just stay within the creative bracket, but do something that you're passionate about. So for example, I'm doing my dissertation at the minute, and all the people on my course are doing either sustainability, masculinity, gender, kind of what you would expect from the fashion industry. And I've just kind of gone completely rogue. I'm doing does the fashion industry enforce an identity crisis on people living with disabilities? And I remember when I first told it to my tutor, she was kind of she was like, no one's ever done anything like this. And I think at first I thought, oh, maybe like I shouldn't be doing such a different topic. But I feel like if you're really passionate about something, it will show in your writing and in your work, and it will maybe have a better outcome than if you're writing about something that you're not necessarily as passionate about, if that makes sense. So I wouldn't, if you were going to do an EPQ, I would just write it about a topic that you really like and that you really want to write about. But maybe when you're writing it, like compare it back to a creative kind of sense as well, if that makes sense. I didn't actually do an EPQ, so I can't actually say for definite. But yeah, when I found that when I'm writing my dissertation, I found that just doing something that you're passionate about, talking about, and want to explore is definitely something that will benefit you when writing it as well, and you'll be able to see that from what you've written.
Somebody else has asked quite a specific course question. I'm not sure whether you'll be able to help with this. It might mean us both going away and doing a bit of research. So Emily said, do you know of any courses that include history in a fashion environment? I do art and history A-levels, and I'm finding it very hard to choose between them.
It's quite funny. When I went to before I decided to do law, I actually looked at a history of art degree. I know it's not really anything to do with fashion, but I was really kind of torn as well, because I really liked history at school, and I really liked art as well. So I actually looked into a history of art degree, but obviously after researching and stuff, it wasn't something that I necessarily wanted to do. So I chose fashion instead. But I feel like there probably definitely is. I'm not sure. Because I've never really looked for it, but I think definitely there is, kind of, because I think you'll find, especially in 2020 as well, when you're looking at university courses, I think they're becoming a lot more open to different topics and things like that. They're not just like kind of your traditional university courses that you would have found like 10 years ago or whatever. There is a lot of new courses. Like my course, for example, is only 2 years old. So I would definitely research and have a look into that, definitely, because I feel like there probably would definitely be something where you could get both aspects of history and art in there, definitely.
Oh, sorry, Anna. What skills do you need to pursue fashion design?
Fashion design. I don't do fashion design. so I'm not entirely sure. But I don't think you'd necessarily have to have like a textile. I think if I wanted to, I could have gone and done fashion design, definitely. I think as long as you've got kind of like a creative kind of mind and things like that, and you're willing to put the work in, I think definitely like fashion design is quite hard. I remember I used to go up to the fashion design studio and be like, wow, this like looks intense. But I think if it's something that you love, then definitely look into just have a research around it. I don't think you would necessarily need like textiles or anything like that. But maybe again for your portfolio when you're applying, just maybe like one of the things I forgot to mention actually that I've been doing during lockdown is I've actually been upcycling my clothes. So any old clothes that I've got in my wardrobe. So I had an old dress from literally when I was like in year 9, and I literally cut it in half, cut the straps off, and sewed the neckline to make like a cute like halter neck crop top. So maybe for fashion design, if that's something that you wanted to look at, but you don't necessarily have like the A level, like a textile A level or things like that, maybe you could look at doing some upcycling of. I'm not saying going into your wardrobe and call your clothes up, but any kind of like old clothes that you literally don't wear anymore, or even ask like your family members if you've got any old clothes that you're gonna take to a charity shop or sell or whatever, and just do a bit of like cutting and sewing with them, and then take pictures of them and just have like a little portfolio, like things that you've made to kind of show that you do have an eye for fashion design and things like that.
Thanks, Anna. Another student said, you mentioned Misguided earlier. How did you reach out to this brand, or how do you reach out to fashion platforms in order to gain access of either work experience or to find out about what goes on behind the brand?
So I actually got through to Misguided from somebody that my mum knew from school. His daughter actually worked there. But what I would say is I'm quite lucky in terms of finding connections, but do look for them because they might not always, you might not know somebody is into fashion. Like I had no idea that my mum knew someone who knew someone in Misguided. But once you start putting yourself out there, so make an Instagram, get all your family and friends to follow it, and someone you know might know someone who can put you in touch with somebody at a brand like this. I'd say in terms of work experience, literally message people on Instagram, push yourself. Like obviously, I'd say networking is really important. Just push yourself and put yourself out there and message people on Instagram. I am doing for my final project at uni. I actually messaged a lady on Instagram, and I thought there's absolutely no way. She's the fashion director at one of the biggest magazines in the country, and it's a worldwide magazine. And I actually messaged her on Instagram, and I thought there's absolutely no way she's going to reply to me. She replied to me like, I'm happy to answer your questions, you can send me an email. So I definitely just say, even if you think, oh, I can't send that, it's a bit embarrassing, or I don't want to be rude, just send the email, just do it, because that you've got what's the worst that can happen kind of thing. I would definitely just recommend networking and just trying to find people within the industry and just building up these relationships, because then once you've got one, they might put you on to someone else, and treat people with respect and treat them well, and then will pass you on to other people within the industry. The creative industry is good in terms of it's very diverse, and it's got a big like community feel. So a lot of people that I've reached out to have been more than happy to help me. So I feel like you will find that if you just kind of message people on social media. On LinkedIn is a massive thing as well. When I started university, the first thing the tutor asked was who has a LinkedIn profile, and obviously through school we get like we are advised to have a LinkedIn. So I actually had one, but there was only 2 of us out of the whole year, and he was just like, he was actually shocked. Like, I feel like you definitely need a LinkedIn, and just post if you write something, or if you do a little photo shoot, just post it on LinkedIn constantly. Just keep self-promotion, and you will find people are willing to talk to you from within the industry, definitely.
Thanks, Anna. Interestingly, and Anna, you might wish to attend this. We've got the CEO is an old girl of the brand Silk Thread.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she's going to do a talk for us either later on this week or early next week. So I think that probably all ties into what you've been talking about as well. I mean, I know it's a massive industry, but it all sort of interlinks, doesn't it? And gives students an idea of what's out there and what's available.
Yeah, definitely. I would recommend honestly listening to any seminar or webinar or anything that you get offered. I would definitely recommend listening to it. You know, like I said, even just the Instagram lives, it really the creative industry. It's scary how connected it is, and you know you might think, oh yeah, I'm gonna go to a job in fashion design, but you end up like, you know, being an art director at an art photography studio. You know, it's all kind of like very interlinked. So anything creative, just go and listen to it, and I'll definitely listen to that talk as well.
I think sort of one final question because I'm conscious we've had you for nearly an hour now. So I'll ask this question and then I'll yeah, and then we'll move on from there. So what software platform would you recommend in making a website to present your portfolio? Is there anything you use, Anna, that's really good?
I use Wix, Wix. It's free. You can pay for a premium, but you don't really need to. Or WordPress if you want to do like a blog, like more of a text heavy website. But I kind of like, I have both actually, which I need to kind of like condense into one. But I found Wix really good for kind of like visual photography portfolio website. And then WordPress for kind of like more of a blog, like journalism kind of thing. But you can obviously interlink them, which is what I'm going to do with mine. But yeah, both those platforms are really easy to use. So yeah, I would definitely recommend using them. They do kind of, you have to be very patient with them, especially Wix. You know, it does slow your laptop down quite a bit, but just take your time, you know, and just keep saving it as well. That's another thing that I've learned hard way. Keep saving everything that you're doing. But yeah, definitely those two websites are really cool to use.
Thank you very much, Anna. That has been absolutely superb, brilliant to just have another perspective and someone doing something slightly different. It's really, really interesting because I know a lot of girls have spoken to me that are interested, so I'm really, really grateful. What I would say to the girls is you're more than welcome to leave the chat now. If you do have any more questions, Anna and I will hang on for the next 5 or 10 minutes to answer anything else that comes through. Does that sound okay, Anna?
That's fine. And I was going to say as well, like if anyone has a question that you do want to ask on this, maybe like Miss Me has my email.
Absolutely.
Email me or message me on Instagram or anything, and I'll be more than happy to answer any questions.
We're having a huge amount of thank yous come through, Anna. Yeah, I'm sure lots of girls will be really, really grateful actually, because it is a really, really hard decision, isn't it? And I think, like you said, when you're sort of being pushed down a quite traditional route to do something you really love, it seems quite brave, doesn't it? So thank you. I'm really, really grateful to you.